Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. In the description of this video, you can find my compiled link. Through there, you can find ways to support the channel, my other social media, and more. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. How's it going, everybody? CJ here, back with another video. We're doing a first thoughts today. This first thought is on Urza, Lord Protector, and Urza, Planeswalker. And I'll also be talking about the Mightstone and Weakstone quite a bit in this video because they all work really well together. Urza, Lord Protector is a really cool new commander. Artifacts, instants, and sorceries cost 1 less. And if you have the Mightstone and Weakstone in play, you can pay 7 mana to meld the two and get Urza Planeswalker. And Urza Planeswalker is insanely powerful. You can activate 2 abilities a turn. Seems good. Starts with 7 loyalty, and then its activated abilities are just fantastic, with a big cost reduction and life gain for the +2. The +1 draws you cards. The 0 makes tokens. -, to exile non-land permanents. And then you can ultimate to basically one-sided board wipe everybody. That's awesome. This card seems sweet, but you are going to have some hurdles when trying to build the deck because you need the Mightstone and Weakstone to actually meld Urza, Lord Protector. So you're going to need a lot of cards to be able to get the Mightstone and the Weakstone into play and keep it around. So the categories I'll be talking about are ways to tutor out the Mightstone and Weakstone, because that seems pretty important. Then we have some Planeswalker synergy stuff. After that, I'm going to talk about ways to capitalize on the front side of Urza. You're going to want to build the deck either as an artifact-based deck or an instant and sorcery-based deck just to get the most synergies. But either way, it's a good commander because you have the cost reduction for all of that. So I'm going to be talking about an artifact build and then also an instant and sorcery spellslinger style build. Then we have some ways to blink the Mightstone and Weakstone because that seems extremely powerful. It's got a very strong ETB, and being able to blink it means that it re-enters untapped, so you can tap it again for more mana. And then we have a bunch of one-off cards in the 99. So we're just going to hop right on into this. Starting with ways to tutor out the Mightstone and Weakstone, because you're going to need that out a lot so that way you can actually meld. You're going to need a lot of ways to find it, otherwise you're kind of in trouble. You're not going to be able to do anything. So some of those ways include Arkham Dagson, Enlighten Tutor, Fabricate, Kuldotha Forgemaster, Long-Term Plans, Moonsilver Key actually seems fantastic for this deck, Reshape, Search for Glory, Thalia's Lancers, and Whir of Invention. If you notice, a lot of those cards tutor out artifacts specifically, so I think an artifact build is probably the better way to go when you're building this deck, just making it a blue-white artifacts deck. That's the way I would do it. However, not only do you need ways to tutor out the Mightstone and the Weakstone, if somebody blows it up, you're going to need ways to get it back. So some of those include cards like Archaeomender, Argivian Find, Argivian Restoration, Crystal Dragon, the adventure on it, Hana, Ship's Navigator, Refurbish, Remember the Fallen, Reconstruction, and Academy Ruins. And in case it gets exiled, throw in Pull from Eternity, so that way you have a one-off way to be able to get it back from exile just in case. Now we're going to talk about Walker synergies, Planeswalker synergies, because you're going to want to run Planeswalker synergies with a Planeswalker in the command zone. Some of those cards include Oath of Teferi, seems fantastic for this deck, just an extra activation of Urza. Lae'zel, extra counters. Deep Glow Skate, double the counters, why not? Flux Channeler, more Proliferate. The Chain Veil, additional ways to activate extra times. Grateful Apparition and Throwing Bird are additional ways to proliferate. Luxior can turn Urza Planeswalker into a creature, so your opponents can't directly attack it. Inexorable Tide, more proliferation. And with all these cards in your deck, more Planeswalkers could be synergistic to do. So you could also run a handful of extra Planeswalkers and almost go like Super Friends if you wanted to. Some of the extra Planeswalkers you could throw in include cards like Jace, you have the Teferis, Karns, and Elspeths. All those seem great. And if you do go heavy on Planeswalkers, you can run cards like Ignite the Beacon, Deploy the Gatewatch, and Oath of Jace. Next up, we're going to talk about the artifact build. If you're going to build this as an artifact commander, there's a lot of just generically good cards to run inside of an artifact themed deck that's blue and white. Some of those cards include cost reducers like Artificer's Class, Cloud Key, Ethereum Sculptor, Sten, Foundry Inspector, Starnheim Courser, and Joyra's Familiar. And you have additional cards that seem really good for this deck, including Emery, Sai, Mirrodin Besieged, Padim, Thoughtcast and Thought Monitor for great card draw, Thopter Spy Network, more card draw, Oswald Fiddlebender, Shimmermere, Cyberdrive Awakener seems pretty cool in this deck, Vidalcan Archmage is an awesome card draw engine, Replication Specialist, just double up on all your artifacts, seems great, Kappa Cannoneer, Aethersworn Canonist can screw over your opponents, Master of Ethereum, Urza from Modern Horizons, being able to tap your artifacts for mana is very powerful. Tashar, artifacts are historic, so you can get stuff back from your graveyard very easily with that. Lashiel, if you're going heavy on the artifact creatures. Digsite Engineer can create some big tokens. Sharding Sphinx. Wrath, more instant speed stuff. Research Thief, this card's sweet. Imposter Mech, one of my favorite clones that exists right now. Mystic Forge, Efficient Construction, and Mechanized Production. And just some additional artifacts that seem pretty powerful in this deck. You can throw in cards like Wormcoil Engine, Phyrexian Metamorph, Mere Battlesphere, and Metalwork Colossus. Those seem pretty powerful. Next up, we're going to talk about the Spellslinger style build. If you want to go instants and sorceries, you can throw in cards like Wizards of the Thay, Haughty Djinn, Tura, Archmage Emeritus, great card draw there, Talrand, Murmuring Mystic, Monastery Mentor, all those are great token generation. You have Baral. Tygam is a very cool card for this deck. Leer, so that way your spells can't be countered and flashback. Gale, super powerful card there. And some spells that you could run if you're going to go Spellslinger. Cards like Opt, Consider, Brainstorm, Frantic Search, Preordain, Impulse, Shelter, Deliberate, and Inaction Injunction can put in a lot of work and just help you move through your deck faster. Next up, I'm going to talk about ways to blink the Mightstone and Weakstone because its ETBs are very powerful. Being able to do that more than once a turn seems fantastic. Plus, it lets you untap it so that way you can tap it for mana again and produce extra mana and ramp you further. Just seems like a win-win. So some of those blink cards include Brago, Displacer Kitten, Felidar Guardian, Flicker, Ghostly Flicker, Teferi's Time Twist, Teleportation Circle, and Planar Inclusion. Now we're on to the one-off cards. Spark Double. Really cool in this deck because you can either get 2 Urzas as a creature or 2 Urzas as a Planeswalker. Being able to copy the Planeswalker side of Urza and having 2 of them seems very powerful. If you want to build it as more of a Storm style deck, either artifact based or instant and sorcery based, you can run cards like The Reality Chip, Future Sight. Both of those let you cast spells off the top of your library, letting you dig deeper and faster. And then some win cards including Brain Freeze and Aether Flux Reservoir. If you are going to go the artifact route, there's a lot of ways to recycle your artifacts. By sacrificing them, sending them to the graveyard, then bringing them back into play or back to your hand so you can recast them. And I think cards like that could be very powerful in this deck, and that could be a cool game plan to throw into your artifact-based Urza deck. Some of those include Scrap Trawler, Mere Retriever, Junk Diver, and Workshop Assistant. And some good sack outlets to throw in include Clark Clan Ironworks and Grinding Station. And now we're on to In the 99. I think that both Urza and the Mightstone and Weakstone could be great inside of legendary tribal decks, especially ones like Sisay, Weatherlight Captain, that can tutor out both pieces so you can meld them easier. Joda seems good in those decks. Any legendary tribal deck it really seems powerful in. Urza itself seems good inside of Spellslinger decks or artifact-based decks because of the cost reduction. The Mightstone and Weakstone actually seems very good for just generic colorless decks because of the fact that its ETB is either removal or card draw, which are 2 things that are really hard for colorless decks to actually get, and it's also ramp. So it seems like a great include like in a Hope of Gira per style deck or Traxos deck. So overall, I think there's a lot of different homes for both cards or either card. But I think it's a sweet commander. It seems like a great artifact deck. Just as a generic blue-white artifact commander, seems like a fun one. And there's a lot of ways to just get the Mightstone, Weakstone out so that way you can meld them and just get the overpowered Planeswalker into play. And so that is everything I have for Urza, Lord Protector. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, everybody.